Good morning, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. We've got a special Friday morning edition, Faithful Friday, a special Chris Polo edition. We got Browns week. We've got Cowboys recap. Lots of things going on in the news and whatnot. Lots of good stuff to chop it up. But Chris, how are you doing this fine Friday?
I'm doing good. Early morning. Honestly, every week I'm just waiting for Sunday to get back to game day. This the game day. They are so good to watch. So just getting close.
And we are getting a little echo. Shoot, I'm not sure how we're gonna attack this, but when you said that, I heard you say game day about 4 times. So I thought we had this fixed. Maybe what I'll do is I'll switch to headphones and see if that helps. Let me try that right now.
Oh, Red Jet remembers me from the Bird app. It's Elon now. Should just back to the way it was.
Okay, so now I've got a headphone in, an earbud. No, but I hear myself echoing on your end.
Hang on.
Maybe we'll say hi to the chat. We got Red Jet Shell in the house saying Niners. Nancy Cameron saying good morning. Me telling him we should be ready. This is before we got started. Red Jet saying woohoo. Bryant Culp. Everybody make sure you check out his YouTube channel. He has a great one. Big Jake Moody fan. He has Jake Moody in all 4 corners of his overlay, pictures of him. Sounding better now from mine. I don't hear myself echoing at least.
You don't hear yourself?
No, Nancy's saying absolutely. They're saying hi to each other. Glad we're all here waiting. Yeah, sorry to keep everybody waiting, but we'd rather be late than rushed, and we'd rather be late than put out an inferior product. So we really appreciate everyone's patience here. Double duty listening to Ted and Ryan at the same time. Haha. Yeah, Ryan Hensley's on with Rod Brooks, so another good show to watch. It maybe when you're done here, go back and rewatch him. But obviously a big get for him. He was on with me yesterday, Ryan, so I don't mind promoting him a little bit. Yeah, so Reddit says we're here. We got Ansel Shaw in the house. He'll be on today at 1 with me. So excited to chop it up with him. Check out his show, The Shaw Show channel, and The Shaw Show on Twitter X as well. Reddit saying what's good for Niner fam. Listen to Ryan's podcast too. Yeah, there you go. Let's go. We got Randy Daytona in the house. Randy helped me come up with the name of my show for my Monday show with Pete Burge. He goes by Pedro, and so we decided to call it the Ivo-Ped for Pedro show. Kind of a riff on Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know if you're a big fan of that with Uncle Rico and Pedro and Tina, come get your ham. Anyway, it's a kind of a cult classic, but it might be. Is it too old for you? You're too young for that show, aren't you?
Yeah, probably. I'm only 23.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, you're like repeating when you're talking. Jesus says saludos. Welcome, Jesus. Thanks for joining. Showtime, let's go. Indeed. I remember Chris Polo from the. Oh, there you go. Okay, we already went through that. Niner getting 50. Browns 13. Browns defense demoralized when they see their offense won't move the ball, just like the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean the Browns offense probably will have trouble. They're mostly a run-based offense. Deshaun Watson has been ruled out for the game officially. It'll probably be PJ Walker off their practice squad who played for Carolina, I think, last year. Or maybe DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who they just drafted out of UCLA if PJ Walker doesn't do well. But their defense is legit. It's probably the best defense we'll play all season. Red Jet's no longer on X, the Bird app. Yeah, I can understand that sentiment. It's pretty toxic, and Elon is definitely messing things up there for sure. It's not great what he's doing, but nonetheless, it's still a great way to stay in touch with people and set up shows like this. Ramelia Sports Report says Ted fears McVay. No, we don't fear the Rams, Ramelia.
Am I still am I seeing when I speak?
It's better now. It's not repeating.
Okay. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
No, it sounds perfect now.
All
For a
right.
minute there, it was like you talk,
Oh,
repeat. It was like clicky, repeaty. Not the clicky sped up. Like there's that one where it clicks and like talking to high pitches really fast.
yeah.
That one where you have
StreamYard
to
is
restart your
me. I don't know.
yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, it's not perfect, but I think it'll work. Um, Anshul says he's watching Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, you definitely got to watch it if you haven't seen it, Chris. It's
I never watched it all the way, but I've definitely seen most of it. I've just never sat down and been able to be entertained enough to keep watching it all the way through.
it's a little nerdy. It's definitely nerd alert. Napoleon is really awkward. He's hard to relate to if you weren't a total nerd in school. But I don't know. I just there's so many funny parts to it for sure. So I riffed off that for this Monday show. I voted for Pedro. So because I was like vote for Pedro for president, all that stuff. Like William, but Dynamite watch Sasquatch Dumpling Gang. All right, Randy, I like it. Thanks for the recommendation. Says it's ridiculous. 1-9 is fearful. Ian Sharp says, yeah, exactly. And the Rams will say they did win the big one to go on and win the Super Bowl. You know what? I say I wasn't that sure that we would beat the Bengals if we went to the Super Bowl anyway. How did you feel about our chances against the Bengals had we won that NFC
I
Championship?
think that our defense would have done really well, but it would have been Jimmy, and that would have been if because it took like till the fourth quarter for Stafford to really get up on them. So you know what? It's very possible we would. I mean, we should have lost the regular season game against them. Pick that
That
was
was my
dropped.
point. Yeah, that was my point
Yeah,
about the Bengals was, in Cincinnati, we needed, first of all, Logan Wilson, their star middle linebacker, kind of like their Fred Warner. He's not Fred, but he's close. He was out for the whole game. Trey Hendrickson, their kind of Bosa, who's not quite Bosa, but he's still a really great defensive end. He missed the whole second half. We needed two muff punt recoveries that led to TDs, and on one of those TDs, it wouldn't have been a TD if their star safety, I'm blanking on his name, he's a Falcon now,
Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates, if he hadn't gotten a taunting penalty against us that kept our drive going. So we needed a muff punt and a taunting penalty to get in the end zone one of those times. And, even with all those good breaks, it took us till overtime. Jimmy put together a good drive in overtime, but it was one of his only good drives of the game. So then Logan Wilson's healthy for the Super Bowl. Trey Hendrickson's healthy for the Super Bowl. Jimmy G is not healthy. Jimmy G has the shoulder and the thumb, and Trent Williams had the high ankle sprain, which I'm pretty sure wouldn't have been healed by the Super Bowl either. So I'm not saying we couldn't have beat the Bengals. I'm just saying just to say if we had won the NFC Championship, we would have won the Super Bowl. I think there's some some doubt you can cast on that, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of reasons why that might not have been the case. So Ramila says, "What's up, Ted? I see you're a Brock fan." Yeah, I've been a Brock fan all along. I mean, I always said you don't have to hate one to like the other, to prefer the other. I did prefer Trey Lance. I preferred the potential ceiling that I thought I saw in him. But we never really got to see Lance play with CMC, so we never really got to see what his ceiling was, even currently with this team. And Purdy's doing better than I thought he could ever do, at least in the last 2.3 games. That's why I've been going on my apology tour and saying I was wrong and saying that he is indeed a franchise QB. When I said over the summer, I got into trouble for saying that he was mid. What I really meant was average, middle of the pack, mediocre. But mid and mediocre have kind of negative connotations, even though really it's all the same word. And back then I was like 14 to 18, so 16 right in the middle is kind of middle of the pack. But after the Giants game, I said 11-15. After the Cards, I said 8-12. And after this Cowboys game, I'm saying 6-9. So squarely in the top 10. That makes him a franchise QB. I don't see him as elite yet, which would be top 5 to me, just because I think there's at least 6 quarterbacks out there that could do as well or better if they were in the system. Maybe not in the first game in the system, but if they had played 12 games in the system like Brock Purdy has. So I don't know, I'd love to get your thoughts on that, Chris.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about Brock. I've come around. I was a person also. Uh, I was just looking at everything Brock Purdy's been doing, and I was looking at his numbers, and dude should front runner for MVP right now. Right now, still saying stuff twice. I have my thing. I think I can try. But Brock Purdy right now is probably my front runner for MVP. Because I was diving into it. First of all, if he's top 10 in all these major QB categories like touchdowns and yards per attempt, it's actually top 3 in some of those. And you have an undefeated record, and you have no turnovers. Tua's got 11 touchdowns, and he's probably someone you might put over him just because of the numbers he's put up. But if you count Purdy's 2 rushing touchdowns, they had the same amount of total touchdowns. It's just Brock Purdy's no picks. And we were actually in a space yesterday looking at height window throws or aggressiveness percentage, like what percent of their pass attempts are aggressive or tight windows. Purdy's ranked 12. And actually, with that statistic, what's interesting is the top people in that category usually successful. Like Kenny Pickett is first category. Jimmy G is up there. Josh Allen is up there, but that goes to show how good Josh Allen is. But he also does turn the ball over a lot. Josh Dobbs is up there. I forgot who. They're not like very, very great quarterback. To be up there in with no interceptions is really impressive. And his completion percentage is first in the league, 10 yards down the field. So it's not like he's just dinking and dunking. And then he throws with. I don't know if anyone in UB school video JT O'Sullivan from the Cowboys game. He's like the touchdown he threw to Kittle, the last one. Threw the ball when Kittle's looking the complete opposite direction before he breaks back inside on that route. The anticipation he throws with, he clearly just has a full understanding of the system. His timing, he has that down. He's accurate. He makes throws in the pocket. He's top 10 now. At least he's playing it, but I won't put him at elite yet. I think we can call him a franchise QB. I think that's fair, but we were actually like last week too. Elite, got to give me a few years of that before we can really put that label on you, I think.
Yeah, and also I've been pretty vocal saying that Brock has the best setup of any QB in the NFL. I think Tua is right there with a pretty good setup, and Jalen Hurts also. Tua has a little more speed, but not as good of a defense. Hurts has a little bit better offensive line, but not as good of weapons and not as good a D. So they all have kind of 3 of the cushier gigs in the NFL. But not to say that being an NFL QB is cushy. It's not. It's the toughest job in the world. That's why there's only really 10 people in the world that we call franchise QBs. It's incredibly difficult to do, especially to do what Brock is doing, to throw with anticipation, to lead a group of alphas, which clearly our locker room is full of. Incredible what he's doing. So much to love. And that's why I've been saying I was wrong. I've apologized to Brock, to Kyle, to our fans that I've pissed off by being abrasive about this, but I will defend myself a little bit and just say, he has been playing at a much higher level the last 2.3 games. So it's not like when I said these things that I was really that wrong at the time. It's just he's proved me wrong since, and that's fine. I'm happy to admit that and hopefully move on. And I've been rooting for him the whole time. I just never thought he could be this good, and I just hope he can keep it up. I think it's going to be a really tough test against this Cleveland Browns defense with Myles Garrett, with Zadarius Smith, with Dalvin Tomlinson, with JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Delpit, Denzel Ward, Even Juan Thornhill is a good safety, and I guess they have this rookie corner who they think might be the best of them all. I think his name is Emerson or something like that. I've got their depth chart here somewhere, and let me pull that up. So
Well, with the Brock thing, you're looking that up. There's a lot of people who
Martin Emerson Jr. Yeah,
is going to be this good, and that stuff is so annoying. Anyone who says they knew Brock Purdy was going to be just a liar, bro. He was the last pick in that. Most people probably didn't even know who he when they're sitting there acting like, "Oh, I told you, Ted, this whole time." No, you did not think that would be the case.
Well, and like I said, I mean, people are saying, "Oh, he's better than Mahomes," and Purdy is playing better than Mahomes right now. But just remember, Mahomes only has Kelsey as his only elite weapon. I mean, you could maybe count Pacheco or Jet, like Pacheco as a runner, Jet as a receiver, McKinnon, but receiving running back, that is. But their wideouts are leaving a lot to be desired. It showed again last night. I don't have much doubt that Sky Moore could improve over the season, or Kadarius Toney. I think they both have the tools to be. I mean, there's a reason why Kadarius Toney was such a high draft pick, and Sky Moore too. So I think that there's every reason to believe they could improve this season. But if they don't, or if they don't by the end of the month here, by the trade deadline, I would expect the Chiefs to make a move to acquire another weapon to help them.
Mike Evans.
Yeah, that would be a crazy fit. That would be a crazy fit. I hope not.
Dak or Purdy. I would take Purdy over Dak. No exaggeration.
Oh yeah, me too. I said it. I said it before the game, even before the game, and now even more since. So yeah. I mean, Purdy was super impressive. So many great throws. I mean, there were a few that weren't ideal. There was the hospital ball to CMC where he drew the roughing call and the taunting call on the same play. Different players. It was Wilson, number 6, who did the taunting, but number 2 got both calls called on him. I think it's Jaron Curse. But there was a couple tip balls, and there was a ball that was behind Ayuk that if it was put out in front might have been a TD or certainly a really big gainer over the middle. But what do you I'm not going to nitpick when he had probably his best game ever in that game, and some incredible throws. For me, like my favorites were it must have been 3rd and 4 where he threw to Ayuk down the left sideline, and Ayuk ran along the sideline and got called back on a Burford hold. And then the follow-up 3rd and 14 to Debo over the middle ended up down the right side for a 43-yard gain. I just thought that was so impressive. Kind of like when I was impressed by Jimmy hitting back-to-back 3rd and 15s against the Rams I think it was week 16 of 2019, or
it was
week 15, somewhere around there, to knock the Rams out and to help us along our quest for the number 1 seed right before we went up to Seattle to beat them there. So yeah, that was super impressive. Obviously the throws to Kittle, whether it was the first touchdown on the rollout or the flea flicker, where, I mean, it could have been slightly better, more in stride. The defender almost caught up to him, but you also don't want to overthrow him when the guy's wide open, right? You got to remember that. So, I mean, it ended up being a TD, hard to poke fault at that. And then obviously, like we said, the third one where he threw with so much anticipation, just incredible stuff. And that wasn't even all of it. There was so much more that Purdy did in that game. Sort of running out of superlatives. I would just say, I don't know. I was pumping up the Cowboys. I was making excuses for them for their loss to the Cards, and clearly, they didn't show up. We had a 42-10 lead with over 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Could have been way worse. We could have put 50 on them, I think, without too much difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, the CMC fumble near the goal line, and then that horrible, weird running play that took us out of field goal range. Those are both possessions we could have put points on the board. We easily could have 50 on them. Jordan made no doubt. We're just trying to run the count, so it was embarrassing for them. But no, what I love about Purdy is he doesn't really throw to receivers; he throws to spots. That's what he does. He to the open part of the field. Throw to Debo that you were talking about was I loved rewatching that throw. It was so perfect. The timing of it and the ball placement. I don't think I've seen Jimmy make throws like on like a 3rd and 14 situation. Have a deep pass on the next play after a penalty. Basically do the same thing. He's good. Like I can't say it's like luck. I can't say it's the system or the weapons anymore. He's just good because we've seen a lot of QBs understanding good weapons not be able to make throws like this against. Even though I did think the Cowboys were overrated, they ranked number 1 on defense going in the game. So to be able to do what he did to the point where he didn't even have to finish the game, that's impressive. You can't deny that. He's just good.
Yeah, no. I mean, I had said earlier in the season that 2016 Matt Ryan was better in this system, and that's not even true anymore. So again, hopefully that continues as we face tougher days. I have no doubt that there will be a little statistical regression against the Browns. I don't think we'll score 30 against them, but I do think we can beat them. I do think it's possible. I tweeted out earlier today something about basically we just got to protect Brock and pound the rock, and I think we should be able to beat them. If we can do either or of those things, I think should be enough. Because I'm not expecting the Browns to score a ton of points. I think they'll possess the ball and keep their defense rested. They'll run the ball pretty well. They do have Kareem Hunt, even though they lost Nick Chubb, and they have a young fellow by the name of Jerome Ford, who I think has been doing some pretty good things. Obviously, neither of them is Nick Chubb, who's maybe as good as CMC or in that conversation. But, they have Amari Cooper, who's a great possession receiver, or not possession, but route runner. He gets lots of separation. But beyond that, there's not a lot on their weapons. There's Donovan People-Jones, he's a fine receiver, but nothing special in my opinion. And then David Njoku, who's a good solid tight end. But I was listening to a podcast, a YouTube show. I think it was Jesse Naylor it was Johnny Dells had this guy on. Uh, Quincy Carrier was on with Johnny Dells, and he was saying how the Browns moved up to draft David Njoku because they knew that the Steelers wanted him, so they shanked the Steelers by moving up to get their guy, and the Steelers were like, oh well, I guess we'll just settle for T.J. Watt, and I thought that was a pretty funny story when you hear about draft stuff, where you're just like, you just never know how these things are going to work out, and you get your guy that you thought was the guy, and turns out not to be the guy. My story like that from this draft was I really wanted the Steelers guy. I wanted Denzel Washington out of Georgia, the big tight end, and we took Jair Brown just ahead of him, and I have no doubt that we could have packaged something with the pick we used for Cam Latu and moved up to get him. But, we'll see how it all works out. Cam Latu, I do think he's a good route runner. He gets lots of separation. It's just those hands, man. He had so many drops in camp when I was there. I was there for all 9 open camp practices, and he was,
he was dropping everything.
Mr. Butterfingers. So it was pretty crazy.
But speaking of the Steelers, I think the Browns game might be kind of a repeat of that. Because PJ Walker's officially starting, right?
Yes, yeah. I knew they'd officially ruled that Sean Watson out yesterday. I saw Schefter or Rappaport.
I don't see how PJ Walker is going to sustain drives against our defense. I really don't. My score prediction going into this game, I know that defense is really good. It's 30-7.
There you go. Just same as the Steelers.
If we stumbled on 42 and could have dropped 50 on the Cowboys, and we've scored in literally every single regular game with Purdy except for that Seahawks and Debo wasn't playing. 30-7 is my score prediction going into that game. I still think we're going to drop 30 on them.
There you go.
And if we do, say a lot about this offense.
I'm thinking more like 24-10 or 24-13. I think we'll cover, but I think they'll score 10 or 13 against us, and I think I don't think we'll score 30 against that
Because
defense.
I'm also defense is just going to put our offense in so position to score.
That's
That
true,
I'm thinking
and
that
their offense will probably
fumble.
lead to their defense getting tired by not being able to sustain drives.
Yeah, exactly.
Because trying to run on our defense is kind of a fool's errand. It's not easy to run on the 49ers defense at all. Our front seven is stout. I did, speaking of the front seven, I did post up last night. There was a cool graphic in the Thursday night game where they were showing pressures this season and for defensive tackles. And Javon Hargrave was leading the league for defensive tackles with 85 pressures. Chris Jones was just right behind him, I think at 82 or 83. And you do have to take that with a grain of salt because 82, I'm sure he got some more last night after the graphic. It was fairly early in the game.
He also
But
didn't play
also
week one.
Christian, he didn't play week one. So,
Yeah.
you got to keep that in mind. But then Dexter Lawrence was 6 behind at 79. He's a monster for the Giants, but basically the only good player on their defense. Not the only one, but when we played them, Aziz Ojolari was out, who's a pretty good defensive end. Defoe at 76, so great to see a Niners D tackle ahead of DeForest Buckner in pressures. That really does my heart, warms my heart, you might say. And then another guy who's a pretty big stud at D tackle, Quinnen Williams at 76 also. So Hargrave almost a full 10 pressures ahead of 9 ahead of Defoe and 9 ahead of Quinnen Williams. That was making me real happy. So I took a screenshot of that during the game and posted that up. I was a little behind. I was rewatching because I had daddy duties. I had to take a shower with my son and then put him to bed. And he's at this age where if I don't sit in bed with him while he's in bed, it's like he's going to be up for hours.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that he starts to get groggy before I bounce out of his room. But it's good stuff. It's good quality time with my young son. He'll be 4 in January. So what else we got? So Randy Tono says 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls from Mahomes. That being said, he may never win anything again. I would just say not if the refs have anything to do with it. And they, it's like, oh, interception, oh, pass interference, oh, touchdown, a clear touchdown catch, and they're just
he's
like,
up with 4 Super Bowls, 5.
Yeah, I think so too. He's like the next Brady. He's getting all the Brady calls now because that guy got his knee down. It was clearly a touchdown catch, and they're like, no touchdown. Use your challenge if you want it.
Was it 5 years? Yeah, I think it's 5 years. 5 years straight. The AFC game has gone through air. So
yeah.
He's gonna win a few more.
Well, especially with that defense. I mean, the defense now they got Chris Jones, they got Karlaftis, they got they also have to have Amena who's coming back for them soon if he's not already back. Who's not on that star level, but he's a good solid depth piece. And then they got some good linebackers now for the Chiefs, and then Snead and McDuffie are really good corners. Whatever the Reed guy's name is, Justin Reed. He's a really solid safety. I mean, he's not the Honey Badger, but he's damn close, and I think quite a bit cheaper. So Chiefs D is looking good. Spagnuolo is a great defensive coordinator, so their D might be what gets them there this year, especially if they don't make a move to get another weapon to go with Kelsey.
I mean, the Broncos went from having the number 1 on offense, losing the Super Bowl, and then got back with the number 1 defense a few years later. Had a horrible offense. So you have Mahomes, you have a chance. I know people are already kind of jumping ahead about, if the Niners make the Super Bowl, who would the matchup be? Who would you want to play? And I know a lot of people are saying oh, Niners and Dolphins just because of the offense and Shanahan and McDaniel. I would rather Mahomes still. I don't want to play Patrick. I'm not scared of Tua personally, but Mahomes is a different animal. I was at this last year's Super Bowl, and I watched Jalen Hurts have the game of his life on the biggest stage, scored 35 points, and still lost to Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to play that dude. Just don't want to play him.
There you go. I want the revenge, but I don't want the refs. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I don't
I'm
know
not
how
really
you weigh that out. But also, just to qualify Jalen Hurts, he had the game of his life, except for the fumble
for
six.
the fumble.
So yeah, that kind of hurt them. I mean, obviously it wasn't the end of the game, but I'm pretty sure the Chiefs scored on every single drive after that. So
Well,
and most of the touchdowns, they all
I would
TDs
love
and
to
one field goal.
Dolphins. I would love to beat the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. All the stuff that we heard fans, especially last year,
Oh yeah,
that would they would not be able to show up in any spaces ever again after that. There was
there
a
you
lot of
go.
back and
They
forth.
still would. They're delusional. They've been doing it with the Patriots for so many. Although they did kind of have a little ownage on the Patriots. Actually, it was like even though they never won the division, barely, they did beat the Patriots a lot of times or sweep them even some years.
Yeah. And
So
thank God
kind of
we did not pick Mac Jones. He's
yes,
good.
thank God.
I know he
I
doesn't
was
have weapons, but he is not good.
no, and he's a terrible person. I yeah, no, I was anyone but Mac Jones. If you remember, I was Fields 1A, Lance 1B. Actually, had Trevor Lawrence third. Oddly enough, and so far that's looking like a mistake. But Fields is still coming along. I haven't written Fields off yet, and certainly not Trey Lance off yet. And then I had Zach Wilson fourth and Mac fifth. Anyone but Mac. There was that little Snoop Dogg meme going around. I used that one to death with the little post-it said anyone but Mac. I love that one. I got
Yeah.
to dig that up sometime. Ian Sharp says another Thursday football classic. No, that was a terrible game. The Broncos are tanking.
You should have just had
There
your
was like
watch that so he could fall asleep. You should just had him watch Wilson run an offense, and then he would have definitely gone to sleep in 5 minutes.
I was definitely starting to nod off there until they finally scored late in the game, and like, oh well, maybe they could come back. They're only down by 8, but yeah, they were. Sean Payton was never going to let that happen. He wants Caleb Williams. And that's why everyone's for sale on the Broncos now, including Frank Clark. They just redid his deal to make him more shippable. I'm just keep hoping for Pat Surtain in the second. I would love it if we could get him somehow. That could be our Dion if we're using a 94 reference. I think that Hargrave, when I tweeted out that Hargrave stat, I said, ever since the signing, I thought Hargrave could be our Charles Haley 2.0, but in a good way. Where Haley was terrible because he went to the Cowboys and then they won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. We only won the one where we had Dion. And someone's like, oh, well, wouldn't Hargrave be, Bryant Young, and wouldn't Bosa be, Haley? And I'm just like, well, positionally, yes, but the whole point is like stealing a great pass rusher from your, conference rival who you're in the
Yeah.
conference championship game year after year with, and then having it come back to haunt them. And I think this could come back to haunt the Eagles. So the Gravedigger, let's hope so. But yeah, Thursday night games suck because
I hate
there's a lot of
them.
injuries. But I do like them because God, it's just a time where I do like football at night where there's only one game and everybody's watching it. Everybody's going to be talking about it. So I do like it from that perspective, but I don't like it because it's an inferior product and there's a much higher chance of them getting injured. I wouldn't be terribly upset if they got rid of it, but I do watch them all. I will say, I do.
For whatever reason, the Thursday nights are always snooze fests. I mean, like it's fun when we were beating down on the Giants, but like watching
Yeah.
struggle to put points on the team that allowed Tua and watching Russell Wilson as I had him in my parlay get 37 yards and a half is just I can't sit there and watch that. I can't.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Jim Everett the Great says Browns 27, Santa Clara 13. Yeah, you can't root for your Rams to beat us, so you'll root for anyone else to beat us. That's fine, Jim Everett. That's fine. I see what you're doing there. I got my eyes on you. 187 says 35-3 Niners. PJ get a TD. I'm shocked. Interesting. All right. I like it, 187. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. I would love another blowout. I just think the Cleveland Browns are better than a lot of people think. And I think that Deshaun Watson isn't as good as a lot of people remember. And so I think that PJ Walker, as crazy as it sounds, might not be a huge step down. I think Watson's had a couple good games this year, but I think he's had some stinkers too. So I don't know that it's that huge of a step down from. I think Watson, if he can stay healthy by the end of the year, will be much better. He's a much better quarterback. He has better skills, but there's still a lot of rust he's knocking off from being out for a couple years. It's not. He's definitely not back to what he was before the whole scandal situation. Quincy was on yesterday. Yeah, I saw that. I watched that Johnny Dell show. It was a good show. It's funny when Johnny Dell says, "Oh, I've." You could tell he still likes Jimmy G, and it's like, that's funny, Johnny. I wanted to chat it, and because I was watching the show and I didn't really chat much, but I really wanted to chat like, oh yeah, Johnny, I know you liked Jimmy G because you blocked me over him. You blocked me on Twitter over Jimmy G stuff, and it's like now it's finally becoming so clear that Jimmy G was carried. As he leads the league in interceptions with one less game played than most of the QBs this year. It's just like, come on, dude.
It's very nice to see. I don't even hate Jimmy. I don't hate Jimmy at all.
No, it's the Jimmy stands.
Right. Like having to hear people tell us or tell me Jimmy was a good QB, why he helped us win, why he carried us to these wins in the Super Bowl. That was just annoying to me. And then it was just people were just so wrong. So to see him go to the Raiders, and then people were like, oh, McDaniels, like Kyle them back was one narrative that people were trying to push. Being able to see him do this now, and I heard that he might be like he'd be someone they look to trade at some point. So being able to see that is it's the proof. It's the proof the whole time this dude held us back. We were not winning because of him. But what's annoying is when we would win games like he just Monday night, where like the D's played really well and he played terrible, people just point his record. And it was the record with Shanahan. And then people be like, he's a winner. No. That's crazy. He's on that's through 5. He's on pace to throw over 20 interceptions this year. That's insane.
That is insane, no doubt about it. Yeah, no, Jimmy is struggling. Not surprised to see it. I think that Brock might struggle on the Raiders as well, just not as much as Jimmy. Brock is clearly better. Real quick, 187 says Browns defense will be gassed all in the second quarter. I think it's going to take till more like the third or fourth quarter, but at some point you can count on the Browns defense should get tired, just like how our defense got tired against the Eagles last year when we couldn't move the ball against them. Like our defense got tired against the Rams in the NFC Championship game where they went on to win the Super Bowl, and just like in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, our defense got tired. So it's reasonable to assume that the Browns defense will get tired if their offense can't possess the ball, give them rest, and move the chains at the very least. They don't even have to really score a lot. They could just get some field goals and move the chains, and that could be enough to keep them in the game if it's a low-scoring affair. So we'll see. We've got John LaJoie in the house. He's saying, hi, Ted. Hi, John. Welcome. So Randy is saying Mahomes 10 points to Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super, down 10 points. Yeah. And the refs helped. The refs didn't call the hold on Bosa on 3rd and 15 jet chip wasp. That got the Chiefs back into the game. There was the helmet to helmet that didn't get called on Neiman on Jimmy G. And then, that got the Chiefs back into the game. And then the Chiefs ran with it. They ended up running away with it. You can't say the refs gave them the game or it was completely due to the refs. They definitely ran with it once they got the opportunity, but the refs gave them the opportunity to get back into it, and that's all they needed.
What gave them a big opportunity was that we had a quarterback throwing with his eyes closed.
In the first half, yeah. That third interception in the first half, that was ugly for sure. And to catch it on film, 4K, as one awful creator likes to say. Right now, 49ers are feared, which is what I'm here for. But until Sunday, 12 whole long games left. The team's interject, healthy and upright mode. Love it. Yeah, 12 games left, 13 weeks. We got the bye weekend there. A lot of people looking forward to the Eagles, but I hope the team isn't. I hope the team is, looking at the Browns, because we got the Browns. We got the Vikings, granted, minus Justin Jefferson won't be playing for the Vikings. But the Bengals could be a pretty big one, especially if Burrow keeps improving. That was one I circled preseason. Before the season started, there were 3 games I circled: Cowboys, Bengals, Eagles. Those are, at least in my mind, legitimate Super Bowl contenders rolling into the season. Then the next tier down was like Jags, Seahawks twice, and Ravens, especially Ravens because we're minus 20 rest days this season, which is worse than the NFL, and the Ravens are +9. So by Christmas Day when we play them, they'll have close to 29 more rest days under their belt than us this season, which is a huge freaking advantage. It's a couple per week almost, or maybe not a couple per week, but a couple per month. No, let's see, 29. No, it's like at least one a week, 2 a week. So that's a huge difference, and that could be the difference in that game. We'll see.
We're healthy going into that game. I the way this team's playing, I don't think the Ravens are going to have a chance. After watching what they did against Pittsburgh, I know divisional games can be tough. That offense is terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean their wide receivers are trash for sure.
Yeah.
They keep trying to add help. OBJ is washed. The guy out of Minnesota is never panned out. Zay Flowers has some potential, but I guess he's been having drops. Randy Daytona says Patriots. That must be a different conversation. Pat Surtain got smoked in Miami last night. No, Pat Surtain got in Arrowhead. So I don't know that he got smoked, but there was a really nice pass to Kelsey where Surtain and another guy were trying to cover him, and Pat Mahomes just threw it out in front of Kelsey, and he made a beautiful catch, no doubt about it. David McNiner in the house. He has his own YouTube channel. Make sure you check him out. He says Russell Wilson is a system QB. I don't know about that. I'd say Russell Wilson doesn't have any good weapons. Jerry Jeudy is so overrated. Sutton's a decent possession receiver, but they have like no speed. They don't have a good tight end. And they're tanking. So I mean, I don't know how much you can. They're tanking for Caleb. I don't know how much you can hold out against Russ. Real quick, want to just do a quick commercial break here, if you don't mind, Chris, to kind of pay the bills. I have a new sponsor. They're called TTG. So I'm officially now TTB, brought to you by TTG. That is the Travelstead Group. They're in retail and hospitality logistics. So it's a B2B type of play. And they do transportation and warehousing for brick and mortar. They do FFE, which is fixed furniture and equipment. They do OSE, which is operating supplies and equipment. They do new store openings, rollouts, relocations, decommissions, from the first mile to the final mile and everywhere in between. Travelstead has you covered. Let us know how we can help you via air, ocean, and land. They do closed loop solutions for retail and hospitality. And, one thing that helps close the loop is they have great support, and they're here in the U.S. There's nothing more frustrating when you have a business and you try and call for help, and you're talking to somebody overseas and they have no idea what your business does, where you're located, what you do. That's not the case. Nick and Henry are great folks, and just make sure you tell them Ted sent you. And thanks in advance. Their link to their website is in the description of the show and in all my properties. So my YouTube About page, my Twitter X bio, and then also Facebook and Instagram. And check out their website. They have a cool video that shows what they do and gives you a better idea about what they can offer. So thanks in advance, everybody. So what do you think about Russ Wilson as a system QB?
Yeah, I think Pete Carroll disguised a lot of weaknesses, and it's pretty apparent. I mean, look at what happened when Geno Smith went to Seattle, the year he just had, and then look what happened to Russ immediately. He looks really washed. I don't know how well he really sees the field. He's just – I don't have anything else to say. He's bad. Like, he's not back anymore. He used to be people I consider like, this dude might be at one point, like back in the Seattle days, because he was so accurate and his deep ball was really accurate too. But I just don't know anything that he does well anymore. He's not the same Seattle Russ. He makes bad decisions. He turns the ball over. Dude had 37 yards at halftime last night. That's just embarrassing. Here's QB that have 37 yards like on one pass attempt. You get that in a half? It's not like Mahomes was chewing the clock down on you either. Like Mahomes had a couple turnovers last night, but he's not good. So yeah, I'd agree. He was shining in that system with Seattle, and he had defense during the Legion of Boom years that was really allowing him to succeed. And people kind of thought that was the blueprint. You get a quarterback on a rookie deal, you load up on a defense, able to win just like that. Elevated to a point where Russ got paid like this elite quarterback, and he's getting paid way too much money now. Because honestly, like 10, that's how he's playing. Bottom 10 in the league, bottom 5.
No doubt.
I mean, his numbers were bad coming into the game. Coming into the game, he had like 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. But reality, just with the eye test, and not really looking at the stats, just the eye test, he's not good.
There you go. Yeah, he is definitely not looking good. I do always say that, quarterbacks need decent protection, at least decent protection and at least reliable weapons. And speaking of decent protection, it was fun to watch Chris Jones truck McGlinchey on his way to a sack last night. That did my heart good too. Not that I'm rooting against McGlinchey, but come on. Maybe
weekly.
Yeah. So I do think Russ will be better. I thought he'd be better this season than last season. He is. I do think he could be better with some better protection and some better weapons. But I think they nailed it during the broadcast last night, where they said basically, or maybe it was after the game, where they said basically, he's not the problem, but he's also not the guy. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl, but he's not the problem. He's somewhere in the middle, and that's why they're going to probably tank for Caleb. So I thought that was pretty appropriate.
I think
Red Jet
in his career where he has become the bridge quarterback. That's
yeah.
He's at right now in his career. He's a very expensive bridge quarterback right now. I think that's where he's at.
That's an interesting perspective. I can't argue against that, Chris. So Red Jet says, bearing in mind the trap game mentality, because she was saying 24-21. She's stealing my prediction from the Cowboys game. That's how bad I was in my prediction, where I said it would be 24-21 San Francisco. And obviously it was 42-10 and could have been 50 plus. She said, because bearing in mind the trap game mentality. So this isn't a typical trap game, because typical trap game is where you play a weaker opponent and it's the next week. Like the Cards game was our trap game, because then we had the Cowboys coming up. So we were looking ahead. But this is maybe a similar type thing of like a letdown game, because we got so pumped up against the Cowboys, and we really wanted to show that, all the talk about their D line or their D being better was not true. And we showed up with a chip on our shoulder, and we romped them. But look at what's happened in some of these other more recent romp games. Dolphins romped the Denver Broncos, and then they get romped by the Bills. And the Bills, they didn't get romped, but they got beaten by the Jags in London. And part of that was all the injuries that the poor Bills had, where against the Dolphins, they lost Tre'Davious White, one of the best corners in the NFL. And then against the Jags, they lost Matt Milano, one of the best inside linebackers. And they also lost Daquan Jones, who's a really solid defensive tackle, to my understanding. So, that's one thing we don't have going against us right now, injuries. Although I did see that Dre Greenlaw missed practice yesterday with a hammy. I didn't hear anything about that after the game, so I'm guessing that's a practice injury. I don't really know much about it. Maybe it's just more of a rest day disguised as an injury. That's what I'm hoping. But that would be my only concern for injuries for us. It looks like even maybe Elijah Mitchell might be back, but
yeah, he was
not
back
for long.
Which will help in a game like that, where they want to just kind of run the ball. And
Well, the great thing about Elijah Mitchell, I mean, he's a very good runner. Mason might be a little bit better, but Elijah Mitchell just doesn't fumble. So, whereas Mitchell had some issues in camp and obviously in preseason games with fumbling, in a game like this. So trap game mentality, I would say more like letdown game. But there's a lot going on with this game, right? I mean, the Browns have a really stout defense, arguably the best in the NFL, or I guess we've just slightly passed them now. But, the best defense we'll probably play in a game. Obviously, we play our defense in practice, but this is probably the toughest defense we'll face all season in the 2023 season, including the playoffs, unless the Eagles get better, which is possible because they have a lot of rookies. But there's that great defense, good run game. Jim Schwartz owns Kyle Shanahan like 8-1 or something in matchups. Now, granted, that's not with Brock Purdy as his quarterback and all these weapons and our defense and all these things, but it's still notable that Jim Schwartz knows how to limit. I think the best Kyle's ever scored against Jim Schwartz is 23 points. So if we score more than that, that'll be a record for Kyle against Jim Schwartz. Also, it's East Coast. It's 10 a.m. in the morning. So early games mess with players' internal clocks a little bit. It's a little harder to get into game speed when your body's still half asleep. And then weather. There's supposed to be some rain. There's supposed to be some wind that could affect, Brock's ability to throw with such precision. It's where, those are the type of situations where you really want a QB with a stronger arm. And so hopefully, I know that Purdy has played well at Iowa State in some rain games, and I think as a pro he has too. But it'll be interesting to see. Those are all reasons why it could be closer, or that it could be a more even game than maybe like the point spread would lead you to believe.
One thing about this game that we haven't mentioned yet. Randy getting into the fold.
Yeah,
great. Just getting a guy as talented as Randy Gregory. He's not like a Bosa or anything like that, but we know what Chris Kacerek does with some guys that fly under the radar. So you give him someone like Randy Gregory, he's going to get the best out of them. I bring a good nastiness and a good bully mentality, I think. Just that kind of attitude on the side of Bosa, especially when you got Hargrave beating all defensive tackles and pressures, and you have the defensive player of the year getting double nonstop on the other side. Getting Randy Gregory on that edge, that's going to be a huge problem for other quarterbacks. Just need healthy. And I think they'll still make another trade. To be honest, I think they'll probably wait till like right around the deadline, just in case. Like, I hope this doesn't happen, but like maybe if there's an injury somewhere, and they want to see
smart.
like what is the biggest need, and then I think they'll go and make another move, because a lot of cap space this year that they'll use up. So I see them going to get one more person. They're going all in this year, and I want to see Randy Gregory out there. It's going to be cool to see. And he took number 5.
There you go. And another good reason to wait until the deadline to make a trade is there will be more teams that have realized by then, like, hey, we're out of this. We're sellers. So there might be bigger inventory also to consider for a trade. Randy was defending Jimmy G a little bit, saying including the playoffs, Jimmy G's 55-23. Yeah.
I don't care what record is. I don't care what his record is, dude. I can use eyeballs and see that dude was tap dancing, walking out of the end zone. You can even see it on the Raiders. He does all the same things, but it's funny because now when I watch it, with him as a Raider, I don't have a level of stress on Sundays that I used to. Watching like every time the ball went over the middle of the field and you couldn't see where it was going, that was like, it made my heart stop, because I knew like this might end up in a linebacker's hands. Like what Brock is the difference between what Brock and what Jimmy's doing. Me, and this is how I always phrase it, and I know people who defend Jimmy will always get mad at me for this, because people always say that Jimmy won us games or he led us to wins. I would say that the defense and Shanahan and the system position to win, it was Jimmy in position to lose. You get into the playoffs and you have 4 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. It got to the point where Kyle Shanahan literally said, if I'm going to win playoff games, I need to take the ball out of my quarterback's hands. Runs the ball to where he actually took it out of his hands really in the Vikings game, but then he runs it with Mostert. We get to the Super Bowl, and what happened? This is literally what happened. Entire match, everything. They stopped running the ball. And then you get into, I mean, we know what happened in the playoffs in 2021 when he didn't even have a touchdown pass in the first 2 victories. So that's why I don't care about his record. Really don't. When it mattered most in the playoffs, he was not a good quarterback. He was serviceable. He had some good games, but that's not going to win you a Super Bowl. Purdy can. I was cool of Purdy last year, because it was that same thing where it's like, I don't think I'm going to buy into this guy just because of the record, because I was looking at it from the perspective of, well, CMC that's when everything is just Purdy took it to another level, but huge difference in the way that they play quarterback. Purdy's mobility, the way he processes, he doesn't panic. Like, I don't think that Jimmy really played scared. He played a little arrogant. Like, he thought he could fit, like, he thought he was Matt Stafford. Like, he thought he could fit certain throws into tight windows over the middle of the field that he just couldn't. And that's why he throws picks at linebackers. That's why I'm pretty sure in that I was mentioning earlier on Next Gen Stats, someone came up. He's top 5. I think he's second in the NFL in aggressiveness in terms of like his pass attempts. They're contested because he's trying to throw these tight windows, and that's why they have interceptions. He can't make those throws. Purdy throws. I don't know what his record is. Don't you got to cut me off, or I'm just go into it. I'm so glad he's not on my team. That's the Raiders' problem now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The all he does is win thing never really resonated with me. I called him Jimmy Luggage, where I capitalized all the G's in luggage. I said he got carried. I said that Purdy got carried a little bit less, so now it's a lot less because Brock is starting to actually carry this team. What he's doing is elevating our weapons to a level where we've never seen it here in San Francisco and barely seen it in 2016 Falcons, where Matt Ryan was the MVP and had the #1 offense. So Alec was asking if we thought we could go undefeated between now and the Eagles. I'll try and get back to the chat and highlight it here. Here we go. And that would be, as I mentioned, Browns this Sunday. Then next Sunday, the 23rd, we've got the Vikings. We got the 29th. I guess the 23rd must be Monday night. Yeah, 5:15 Monday night on ESPN for the Vikings. And then Sunday, the 29th, we got the Bengals. Then we've got the Jags, November 12th in Jacksonville. Oh, that's a tough one in my opinion. The Bucks, I still not believe in, but God, they keep, they got a good defense, and Baker seems to be playing well so far if he can stay healthy. November 19th, and then the Seahawks in Seattle is a really tough one always for us. Their offense is playing really well, and obviously this Devin Witherspoon kid. I don't know if you watched him play recently, but he had a hell of a game. I guess it was against the Giants, but still, he just was hitting, he was intercepting. It was a pick six, I forget, but it was a lot of goodness or badness if you're a 49ers fan, seeing potentially at least the secondary side of LOB 2.0 emerging with him and Tariq Woolen. They obviously already had Quandre Diggs. And I'm not a huge Jamal Adams fan, but he's skilled. He's probably overpriced, and they probably spent too much to trade for him. But he's a good safety, beyond being a head case. It was frustrating to see him yell at the concussion doctor, but concussions, you got to give him a little bit of an out. When you have a concussion, you get confused, and that's one of the symptoms. So you can't be too mad at him for having that kind of reaction. Or I couldn't. I'll speak for myself.
It's possible they're undefeated. Like, just looking at it, we're going through it. Realistically, so Halloween was when we played the Rams last year. I remember because I flew there the morning of, and I met with Roscoe and Kevin to go to that SoFi. It has almost been a full calendar year since we lost a regular season game. So it's very so we can get to week 13.
All right, I love it. I will go ahead and say Bengals scare me, Jags scare me, Bucks not that much, but Seahawks. I'm going to say we lose at least one game before the Eagles, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's 2. Just I mean, if we're playing like against the Cowboys, I get it. I just don't think that's sustainable to play like we did against the Cowboys. I think that was a emotional game. I think that was pumped up. But if we do, I could see us going undefeated. But I'm gonna say my bet. If I was betting, I'd say 1 loss between now and the Eagles.
Because I'm trying to think of out of those games, which one would probably be that loss. Because I don't think that they're gonna go undefeated. We were actually in this conversation the last few days. How do you beat the Niners? Like, genuinely, if you had to give someone a game plan, like, how do you beat this Niners team that have between them and the Dolphins, second best offense in the league and the best defense in the league. I beat them with all these weapons.
Yeah, I mean, you have a down game, injuries, just regression, better defenses, better offenses that put more pressure on us. But
It's
yeah,
hard
it's looking
to
tough
to
because even
come
our
up with.
special teams is playing well too. So
And I think we're the only team. I think it might be DVOA metrics. I think we're the only team that is top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams.
I'm
Um,
sure that's
that,
probably
that
true.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's really tough to like Osco and even Kevin was bringing this up in the space. You really have to beat the Niners on first down. Like you have to get like 5 or 6 yards on first down against the defense, and that way you not put in these third and long situations or anything. But even that is a tall task. And even then, like the Cardinals were able to do that with James Conner, but they still lost 35-16. Like that Cardinals game, we scored 5 downs and 6 possessions. There were 7 kneeled the ball down for one of those at the end of the half. So it was really like 5 touchdowns and 6 possessions. So I think that's the difference this year compared to years in the past. In the past, where the defense was our this year, it's kind of like the offense is the strength. So I don't really know how you stop that. I think other than beating the Niners on first down, you have to hope that the Niners make mistakes. You have to hope that someone fumbles. You have to hope that finally throws an interception. That's kind of where I feel like now. I don't know if you saw my tweet the other day. The numbers they're putting up are very close, pretty much identical to the Falcons' offense. So remember that 2016 team when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. They averaged. I'm going to decimal points because they were very close. I think the Falcons that year averaged 33.8 points per game. The Niners right now are averaging like 33.3. The Falcons that year averaged like 6.7 yards per play. The Niners this year averaging 6.3. So it's really on par. And that's the year that Matt Ryan won MVP and they went to the Super Bowl. The difference at 2016 Falcons team, defensively, they were giving up 25.5 point game. The Niners are giving up 13.5 points a game, almost half of what that defense was. So I don't know how you beat a team like that. I don't know like what
Yeah,
scheme you could have says that we're going to be able to one stop this team from scoring, and also we're going to put 30 on them because that's probably what it's going to take. I think you need to score 30 on the Niners to beat them.
yeah, no, I think that against most defenses, that's probably true. Yeah, I mean the Falcons defense ranked like somewhere between 24th and 27th that year in 2016, and the Niners were ranking somewhere between sort of like 1 and 3. Right now, number 1, but it'll fluctuate. We were fifth in yards and 7th DVOA rolling into the Cowboys game. So yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be bullish about this team. I don't know that there was like an Eagles team in the NFC back in 2016 that the Falcons had to beat to get there. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, we're number 1 in Super Bowl odds. That was another graphic that I posted from the game last night. I said, the Niners are plus 350. The Chiefs plus 550, the Eagles plus 800, Dolphins 900, Bills 950, Cowboys 1500, Lions 1500, Ravens 2200. So I said the Chiefs have to drop down after this game versus the putrid Broncos tonight, right? Because even though the Chiefs won, it was not a pretty performance against a team that lots of teams, even the so the obviously the Dolphins ran it up against the Denver Broncos, but like also so did the Bears, right? I mean, Justin Fields had his like almost 20 completions in a row against the Denver defense too. So there have been several teams that have really run it up against this Denver defense, and Mahomes was far from running it up. So and some of that was just their own errors, but interesting to see for sure. Randy says CMC is a great runner, but he has nothing to do with the way Purdy plays football.
So that's not true.
That's not true.
Because if we want to go back to numbers, we can use that same argument back to when Jimmy was playing. Because Jimmy actually played well last year.
When CMC started.
once he got on the team because he did. So Jimmy had never gone more than 2 games without throwing an interception. He didn't throw a single interception with Christian McCaffrey on the field playing last year. Now he goes to the Raiders. He's in 4 games. Because CMC, what it does is, one, the threat of CMC, like you hear like what the Cowboys are supposedly trying to do, like their game plan was to swarm CMC. What did Mike Tomlin say going into week 1 against the Steelers? The game plan is it all starts with CMC. All the focus goes there, and then you got all-pro Debo lined up. You got all-pro George Kittle lined up. You've got Brand playing like an all-pro who had a hell game. It takes a lot of attention away from those guys. And also just the safety blanket, the check down blanket. CMC gets like plus touches a game, whether it's through the game or if it's through running the football. So no, it definitely plays an impact because he really boosted our quarterback play for 2 different people last.
Yeah, I mean CMC used to play quarterback, so he always knows where to be on the field as the outlet pass, the check down, where he's going to be as far from a defender as possible while being as close to the first down marker as possible. CMC will always find that sweet spot and give you the greatest, check down, bailout end of your progression. And you really could see Jimmy start to go through his progressions more once he knew that CMC was at the end. There's this pot of gold at the end. It made sense to go through the others so you get to him at the right time, so you're not throwing to him too early.
It made the whole system that Kyle wanted to flow a lot easier.
Because he's the
Debo
V12 that makes Kyle, the Lambo that is Kyle's system roar. Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. Now CMC, and there's a reason why he's a in the MVP odds, right? CMC.
Oh yeah, they're both.
Purdy and CMC are both in there, but I think because CMC's in there, that hurts Purdy's chances because people will automatically detract from a quarterback who has such a great weapon and say, well, it's partially the weapons, and that's fair to do, I think. We've got the Eagles fans in here. Bobby Murphy, welcome. Loving that they lost in the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl hangover is real, Bobby. You guys, if you haven't figured it out yet, you will soon. Teams that lose Super Bowls do not do well the next year, and the Eagles are definitely scuffling so far. I do kind of wish we had played the Eagles earlier because I think they might be playing better by week 13 when we play them because they do have so many rookies. They did have a nice draft class. But I always caution people banking on rookie draft classes to say, even with good GMs, 50% of rookies fail. And even with the 50% that don't fail, a lot of them don't thrive as rookies or even second-year players. So it takes some time a lot of times. But backup TDEs can block 2 injuries or random. I don't know. I don't think Kyle will make that mistake again, Randy. I hope he doesn't. So, Chris, trade deadline coming up October 31st on Halloween. You said we might wait till closer to it. What's your priority list of like positions? What's the most important position you think we should target? What's second most? What's third most?
I would number and I'm also going to go based on like what's realistic. I would say number 1 is corner because it's not Oliver. I'm okay with in the slot against certain matchups. Like he's fine. My biggest worry is if Lenore or Mooney Ward were to go and Ambry Thomas has he's gonna get picked nonstop. That's my biggest worry is he's just such a liability to me. That depth is what kind of work. So I actually liked Jesse's idea on his show last that he did not ago, but they were talking about trade ideas. And obviously Pat Surtain's up there, but that's more of an unrealistic, acquisition position. But Marcus would actually be a pretty decent one to be able to get Marcus Peters him in certain situations, kick Lenore inside, and then also you just have more depth. I would love to pick someone up like that just for depth purposes. And then
Where's
other than
Peters now? He
that,
was with the Ravens, and where is he this season? I forgot.
he's in Vegas. Yes,
Vegas. That's
Raiders.
right.
So
That's right.
I
So
would
they're two
love
and
to.
three.
And listen, like we're not in their conference or anything. So if they're
Yeah.
willing to just kind of sell a veteran, I would love to do that. I know other people talked about Danielle Hunter, getting another pass rusher. Um, I wouldn't mind getting another pass rusher too. I know they just got Randy Gregory, but you did just have to cut Kerry Hyder. If there's someone else that's really good can get, you might as well just go for it because the year you're all in. If it's a 1 year and you have this 40 million in cap space, use it. Don't mess around because I'll tell you the Chiefs are going to make a move. The Eagles will probably try to make a move. Like they're going all in. Like right now the Niners are way up, and teams got to find a way to catch up. If there's someone available, those contending teams are going to go after them. So I would like to get depth at corner. If we can get another edge rusher, I would love to do that. Side of Bosa. My last one really isn't realistic. It's a right tackle. But the reason for that is the reason it's not really realistic is teams just don't give up good offensive linemen. They just won't do it. So it's just probably not going to happen. Really, any offensive lineman, if we can just get any type of utility off, that would be good. Because actually, Burford has kind of struggled too this year. So either way, just to kind of get a little bit of depth on that right side of the line would be great. But I think getting one more corner would do a lot for this team just moving forward because of injuries are going to happen at some point. You just hope it's not severe.
So you got corner and you got right tackle. Those are the priorities for you.
Corner, edge, and tackle.
Edge, corner, edge, tackle. Got it. Yeah. I'm with you there 100%. And I would say, I kind of brought it up earlier in the conversation with Denzel. What was his name? Washington. The large tight end out of Georgia who went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think tight end, if we could get a tight end who could block and catch like Kittle can, that could be our right tackle light, right? That could be a help us in putting that player in doesn't telegraph what the play is either, because they could easily go out into the pattern as well too. Whereas a Charlie Warner, you just really don't sweat him as a receiver. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. A corner, edge, right tackle, tight end 2, dual threat tight end 2 would be another one I would add to that. Ryan Hensley brought that up yesterday. I was like, damn, yeah, I've been wanting a tight end drafted, drafted well. We definitely drafted 2 in the last draft. And I do think that Braden Willis is a good one for a 7th rounder, but it's just Cam Latu. I think we just really blew that one, at least for now. And we'll see next year. If he can learn to catch, like I said, he does separate and he does block well. So he's got some of the things we were looking for if he could ever figure out how to catch. Real quick, want to call out Stevo Supremo in the house. He's saying who's we to the Eagles fan. So Bobby Murphy is an Eagles fan. That's why it says Dallas sucks on his avatar. Can't argue with that. Got Bebop Jones in the house. He's laughing at Randy where they're saying no excuses because Bobby was saying that we lost the Super Bowl a few years ago. Yeah, we sure did. But guess what, Bobby? We have 5 rings. You guys only have 1. Like if it's been so long since we've won one, then how come you guys haven't caught up? Not even half, not even close to half, not even 2/5 as many. I mean, come on, catch up and then talk. Bebop says happy Friday the 13th all the spooky, love it. Randy says why probably still 11-1 or something. Everyone embarrassed when they leave Philly just for having to be there for 3 hours. Philly fans are terrible, no doubt about it. They're awful. Sugarnaut says payday.
You know who's great though? Pittsburgh fans. When we went to Pittsburgh for week 1, oh my gosh, they're like the friendliest fan base I've ever met. Me and Davo were in the airport and we were leaving, and there's Steve walking and he would say like good game to all. Looked at me, he's like, dude, I feel bad saying people because they're just so not they're the friendliest people. Pittsburgh, shout out to Pittsburgh Steeler fans.
Steelers, I think Green Bay Packer fans are pretty nice too. They're like, here, park on my lawn, since there's no parking lot at Lambeau. I've heard they're very nice and accommodating folks as well too. Randy says Philly has interesting fans. I know I lived in Camden. So there you go. So that's Camden, I believe, is in Jersey, but it's very close to Philadelphia. North Jersey there, or I guess it's South Jersey. North Jersey is near New York City. South Jersey is near Philly, if I'm not mistaken. But somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm definitely not a geography major. Randy's still saying Brock is Brock before he met CMC. Yeah, but Brock never played in the NFL in a real game without CMC. So
It's just kind of like, and I saw his other chat where he said he was talking talent and skill. I agree with that. It's your production is because another player is there. It's gonna help your career. It's gonna make you look a lot better. Like Jimmy looked a lot better going into free agency with put up when CMC got there. CMC never showed offense continued the way it was. First of all, we went in the playoffs because we were 3-4. Maybe we would have, but it would not have been the same. And he would not have gotten that much money from Vegas.
No, absolutely not. And even still, he got the least amount of money of any vet on a multi-year deal. The only multi-year deals making less than Jimmy G are rookie deals. So go figure. Because you think about it, Danny Jones, 40 mil, Derek Carr, 37.5, Gino, 35, and then
Jones. That's
12
crazy.
mil less, Jimmy G at like 22, 23 mil a year. How many yards did CMC have against Dallas? I think he had like 50 rushing yards. It was 2.7 per carry, and he had a few catches. So he was like 70, 80 yards total. It wasn't big, but here's the thing, Sugar Nut. The Cowboys sold out to stop CMC, and then, they picked their poison, right? They're like, we're not going to die by the poison of CMC. And every other poisonous snake on our offense bit them. Kittle bit them for 3 TDs on 3 catches. Ayuk had some big catches, including one that got called back. And then Debo had the big one when Ayuk's got called back. Here comes Debo with a 43-yarder to just make it like we never even missed a beat. Even Jennings had some nice catches too. Juice had the touchdown catch. So, they picked the poison. Now, here's the thing. With a poisonous snake, how do you deal with a poisonous snake? You cut the head off. So if Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson and that D line can get pressure on Brock, then that's one way that and they also have a really good secondary. They've got Denzel Ward. They've got this Emerson kid. I'm blanking on his name again, but I'll bring it up. It was Martin Emerson Jr., who's apparently like this baller rookie corner. And Grant Delpit, who was great at LSU, he's really playing great now as a strong safety. People thought he'd be a free safety, but he's really playing like a strong safety / linebacker for them. They've got JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koromoa, who is extremely fast and versatile as a weak side linebacker. So there's a lot of guns on that Cleveland Browns defense. It's not quite the Niners D with star power, but maybe a younger, hungrier version. And Grant Delpit had some comments. I don't know. Did you see what he said, Chris, where he was talking about like, oh, the Niners are riding high. This might be the perfect time for us to catch them. And I agree. Like, that's what I'm saying about like these letdown games after you smoke somebody who was supposed to be like your rival and you just make them look silly. All of a sudden you start believing that what doesn't stink. And I'm not saying the Niners will, but it tends to happen. It's just human nature. People forget that life is a destination and not is not a destination. It's a journey, and you're always moving forward, hopefully. And anytime you feel like you've made it, that's usually when the rug gets pulled out from under you because you get a little complacent and you just start thinking you deserve things rather than having to earn them. And I'm not saying that will happen to the 49ers, but it does happen a lot in the NFL. And it's something just to be aware of, something that hopefully our team is fighting to overcome and not fall victim to. So Randy says, I'm sorry, you're talking production. This Niner team is better than the last time we beat Cincy. Aren't as good as they were in that game. Yeah, no, we're better. We're way better than we were in 2021. Any game in 2021, but especially the Eagle or the Bengals game. And they're not as good right now. Now, that's true right now, but the last game I saw Joe Burrow play most recently, he was starting to look more like himself. He's coming off this calf strain, and if that's 100% healed, and certainly Jamar Chase looked like, he had like a career game, didn't he? Just most recently, I forget who they were playing. I'll look it up while we're talking here.
Because that Cardinals defense is cool, which is why I was shocked.
There's no talent there.
Score against them.
Yeah, the Cards D, if you think they're any good, name a Cards defender besides Kaiser White, right? And that's what I would
I mean,
say.
Purdy only a pass. Like it's a fun game to be at.
Yeah. Let me just look that up real quick, though. I'm going to see if I can quickly find Bengals Cards. There we go. Stats. Jamar Chase had 15 catches, 192 yards, and 3 TDs, along of 63. So that's scary if you're a Niners fan to see that happening. And T. Higgins is out, but I think he might be back by then. I don't know how serious his injury is, but I didn't think it was like super serious.
I think he'll be back by
Uh,
then.
yeah, I don't think it's like season ending or anything like that. So, then they already have Tyler Boyd. They got Mixon. I think they have a pretty good tight end too, if I'm not mistaken. See if I can find him on here. I don't see him, but I do think they have a pretty good tight end as well. So I know they used to have a Zoma, but I think he went to the Jets. The Jets have like 3 really good tight ends. They have like everything but a QB. The poor Jets.
Yeah.
Sugarnut says I'll take Brock with Mason. Yeah, I mean, he's been playing really well.
As in like over CMC?
Not over CMC, but he's just saying. I think he just. Oh, I mean, JP Mason. He's a great change of pace. He's not going to take CMC's place, but he's a better pure runner. Just like Elijah Mitchell is a better pure runner than CMC, but the pass catching ability of CMC is you can't, and the gravity. CMC has that gravity like a Steph Curry, where all the eyes are on him, and that means they're not on Ayuk and Kittle and Debo and Jennings, and it just helps everybody to have all that attention on CMC, and with good reason. I mean, he's MVP. But Mason had a really nice game. Like I said, the thing with Mason Sugarnut is that he has ball security issues in camp and in preseason. Hasn't showed up during the regular season. Knock on wood. Hopefully, maybe it was just an anomaly and nothing to worry about. I don't recall him having fumbling issues at Georgia Tech. I think is where he played college ball. But I think injuries were what kept him, what ended up getting him to be a UDFA instead of being drafted the year we picked him up. But there could be ball security issues from there too. If someone wants to look that up, let me know. Randy says I'm talking talent and skill. There you go. Brock and Mason are fine. Yeah, no, they're good. And Elijah Mitchell's a hell of a back when he's healthy. It's just God, the guy can never stay healthy. And hopefully, I guess TDP had some nice carries in garbage time, but hard to put too much import on that. I think it's CMC and JP Mason, Jordan Mason are 1 and 2 backs, unless Elijah Mitchell can somehow stay healthy, and then we could have a 3-headed monster, hopefully. Randy's saying Mason averaged 7 yards and CMC 2.6 last week. Yeah, like I said, the Cowboys.
They want to take out CMC, and then what it does, George Kittle hasn't done much, has 3 touchdowns, and then Brandon Ayuk has some catches, Debo has some catches. That's what you're talking about, that gravity of CMC. That is the point. Team wants to do that. We're fine with that. 3 other different all-pro level players that we can destroy you with. That's pretty much how it works. And Jordan Mason, he had like that like garbage time. We were really trying to run the clock out. He had that 26-yard run for a touchdown. Hilarious. Man, beating up on the Cowboys is so funny.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Bobby Murphy says not playing better after Super Bowl loss. We're 5-0. Yeah, you guys are, but against who? No really good teams yet. So it'll be interesting to see how they fare. They've got some tough games coming up. Let me look up the Eagles. I think I've got it here. Their schedule. I do.
To me, it's not who they're playing, or it's more quarterbacks they face. Like they almost lost to Mac Jones, who's been benched twice. They let Sam Howell, who I think is actually pretty good. He put up 31 on them. I think they should have been able to run away with this game. And they just like stopped throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp pretty much the whole second half. I don't really understand why, because he had 95 yards in the first half. I would have just keep putting the ball in his hands. Sean McVay's done it before. And so going in a back and forth with the Rams content creator the other day on the timeline, And his argument was basically that, like, well, it'll be different because the Eagles, people are looking too much in the point differential, but it's just because they hold the ball a lot. It's because they sustain long drives. The Niners and Eagles, their average time of possession in regulation is a difference of like 50 seconds or something like that. And our point differential is 62 points higher than the Eagles. Like, we're beating teams an average of 20 points. Like, that's the difference
Yeah.
between a team like that. So, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say the Eagles are a bad team. They're still a good team at the end of the day. I think it's us and the Eagles. You have to see us with a healthy quarterback, probably, with an actually good, healthy quarterback. So that's going to be a whole different story when that game
No
is.
doubt about it, because Brock has been playing at a different level the last 2.3 games. The end of the Giants game, the Cards game, and the Cowboys game, he's doing stuff I've never seen, never thought I would see him do. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, Eagles have the Jets this weekend. Someone was saying they could see them dropping that game. I don't think so, unless Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, I guess, is starting to play a little better. So maybe, but the ones I see as trouble, they got after that. They got the Dolphins. Obviously, that offense is super high powered. Dolphins D is a little sus, but we'll see. Commanders, I don't think they'll keep it close this time. Cowboys, they got to start turning it around if they want to hang with the Eagles. But Dak does kind of own. He has kind of ownage on the Eagles. Not quite as good as ours against the Rams, but similar. But then they got a couple huge ones. They got the Chiefs. That's on November 20th. And then the Eagles have the Bills on November 26th. And hopefully the Bills, they lost, as I mentioned, Trey White, Matt Milano, and Daquan Jones. But they did get Von Miller back. So hopefully he's playing better by then. And maybe Daquan Jones is back. I don't know how serious his is, but it sounds like Matt Milano's probably it's cooked at least till then and maybe for the season with the broken bone and some additional structural damage in his leg. So we'll see. That's interesting. But yeah, I don't think you guys will be undefeated when we play you. I think I thought we'd lose one game if I was betting between now and then. I think the Eagles will lose at least two between now and then. But we'll see. We'll see. Randy's saying you're saying CMC takes off pressure off of Brock, but when he's blitz, he's a better quarterback. Yeah, but
he's great.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
No, it's all the same thing.
Just overall, like that.
Blitz just means honestly, Randy, that you've got a hot read, and if you can figure out where the blitz came from and just kind of throw to that side, the guy that's over there is probably open.
And that's the thing. Ease it.
Blitz gives you less time, but if you make fast decisions, you can make them pay for blitzing for sure. Especially with our weapons, when you're throwing all these yak monsters of CMC, Kittle, and Debo, and then an incredible route runner and Ayuk who gains tons of separation. It's just it's not fair when you got all those weapons. It's the way you're winning, Bobby. Yeah, the Eagles are definitely scuffling. Sugarnut says, don't want any Denver taint. Well, we already got some. We got Randy Gregory. I guess I didn't really talk much about Randy Gregory, but I think you kind of nailed it. I think he's better than why am I keep blanking on this guy's name? Who did we cut? Kerry Hyder. Thank you. He's definitely better than that. I don't know that he's better than Drake Jackson. I think he's probably about the same as Cleveland Farrell, maybe a little better than that. But he's depth. He's super cheap. Both from a salary perspective and draft capital perspective. I mean, we basically gave up a sixth and got back a Denver seventh. It looks like we'll be picking towards the end of the sixth round, hopefully 32nd, right? And the Broncos are right now, it looks like they're trying to tank. So we might have only given up one draft spot to get Randy Gregory there, or certainly less than a handful, it looks like, and or almost certainly, I would say. And then, so he's got a lot of upside. He's bendy. He's long. He gets good pressures. He doesn't get a lot of sacks, but he gets a lot of pressures. He gets strip sacks. So there's a lot to like. I mean, he could end up being our bookend across from Bosa, but I don't think so. I think, like you said, I think if we really want to go all in and have like a Rams move at the trade deadline, corner, a bigger name defensive end, kind of like what we thought of like Ngakoue during the offseason. That was sort of my guy I wanted. Who we could have signed, or Zadarius Smith, who we could have traded for, who the Browns traded for. More like that. Maybe like if we're talking Las Vegas Raiders, because we talked about Peters, maybe they're willing to deal Chandler Jones, but I guess he's having kind of mental issues. But someone of that kind of caliber, who's a more established pass rusher, I don't know. We'll see. But I definitely would love some Pat Surtain taint. Absolutely, send them my way.
Love Pat Surtain.
Yeah. CMC makes it easier, but Brock still makes good decisions, high IQ, and takes care of the ball. Absolutely. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no, I mean, no one's doubting that. He's great mechanics. He's a great leader. I said all offseason, even when I was calling him mid, that he's a mental giant. It's just I was maybe overplaying the importance of his limitations, of his limited arm, limited height, limited top speed. And still, those may come into play more as the season goes along. But so far, he's proven me wrong on that. So good job, Brock, and keep it up.
Yeah, no,
Keep it up.
and when I'm talking about CMC, I'm just saying he helps. But I said like earlier in the show, I think Brock Purdy's top 10 or league quarterbacks. I don't think you can even deny that. And I think he should be the front runner for MVP. You're having he's got 11 total touchdowns, no exceptions. He's undefeated. Did you know this? So he's 8th in passing yards, and he's 20th in pass attempts. I looked at that yesterday.
That's
dude,
impressive.
you can deny that. Like, yeah, CMC helps, but that's what any back in any team. I wouldn't want. You wouldn't want to not have him, but no, he's right now.
That's huge. McNiner brings up Lyle Collins as a free agent recovering from injury, but should be ready by midseason. I'm not wild about his injuries, but when you're looking at a right tackle, you're going, especially a free agent, you're not going to have a perfect one just sitting out there off the street. So that's an interesting possibility. Just to have his depth, behind, even if he doesn't beat out McKivitz. Just to have his depth, that might be something if we could get a decent deal on him, or if he wants to come chase a ring, that type of thing. You never know. What do you think about Lyle Collins, Chris?
I would take a flyer on tackle. I right now though, like because I know I have to get rid of somebody. I'd rather take a flyer on someone in the secondary though. Just because I think McKivitz is okay. Obviously we can get a lot better, but I think okay. And if I had to take someone off the, I'm probably going to add another corner just because of the depth purposes. Anytime Ambry Thomas is like the only player right now where I feel like when he has to come, part of me is like this quarter they're going to pick on. I mean, Josh Dobbs did it twice, and then they scored a touchdown off that drive to end the half. Like that's the one guy where it's like I can't trust him, but I know he's probably going to have to play. So if someone's got to play in that spot, I would like to get upgrade. Doesn't even need to barter. Just like a Marcus Peters, like we were talking about earlier, that and Jesse brought him up on his show. I don't want to steal his idea, but that is something that's like perfect. That's a great middle ground play we can go after realistically.
There you go. Well, appreciate you giving credit where credit's due to Jesse. He's outstanding. And I think also Isaiah Oliver when he goes up against speedy slot receivers, as we saw with I forget the guy's name, the special teamer from the Cowboys who ended up twisting his ankle during the game, but he got great separation and got their only TD of the game. Interesting. So, and Randy says, by the way, no disrespect, Polo, just like to argue. Pretty sure Chris feels the same way.
No, none taken. I do too.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, Randy's a good dude for sure. Daniel Barry Sports says, yo, welcome Daniel Barry Sports. Everybody check out his channel as well too. Doing great things over there. Appreciate you being here. We're just saying hi. Detroit fans are cool, not going to lie. And they're really starting to travel now too, now that their team is good. I guess that's a good little point to bring up. Like, where are your rankings for, like, I mean, obviously it's us and the Eagles, or not so obviously. Do you think the Lions are in that conversation? Do you think Seahawks are in that conversation?
I like the Lions more than the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks beat them. I just the way we match up as the Seahawks, I think we should handle them. I think we'll be just fine. Lions, that's a good team. Offense is really good. Jared has begun to take care of the ball. recently. What was he, third all time in most pass attempts without an. That's a good team. Good team. I think it's us and the, but like those two teams like are on complete different levels, and then you go down here and you've got like the Lions and the Cowboys and whoever else you want to put down there. It's just like no one is on that level that the Niners are on. I don't even think the Eagles, despite their record, is just like no disrespect to the Eagles. They're pushing all game. We're blowing by 20 points and putting Sam Darnold on the field against on defense in the fourth quarter. There's a huge difference. And a win is a win, and it doesn't really matter how at the end of the day as long as you put a W in the win column. But there's just levels to this. The Niners point totals 9 plus 90, I think it is. So that's a different level.
There you go, no doubt. Randy brings up an interesting point. Says some creatures regenerate their heads. We talk about cutting the head off of a snake.
When they went quarterbacks.
And so there's hydras can do it. I was just Googling it. It says sea slug. So maybe Brock is like a hydra or sea slug, or chop off his head, but he just keeps coming back. Mutant zombie Brock. Love it.
By the way, since he tore that UCL, is he going to be in the running for comeback player of the year, even though it's at the end of the year?
I don't think so. Because he didn't really miss any games technically, right?
Interesting though, if he was, if he was MVP conversation and comeback player of the year conversation.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I think he deserves it, but I don't think the general public would agree, unfortunately. And we have 5 Super Bowls. Yeah, 7 Super Bowls, 5 wins. Bobby was trying to say something about us being like the Cowboys, but keep in mind, Bobby, we've been to 7 NFC Championship games since then. The Cowboys haven't been to 1. Also 2 Super Bowls. We didn't win them, but you got to get there to win them. And making deep playoff runs, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm sorry, I won't. So you can make fun all you want. Also, we ended the Cowboys season 2 years in a row and then just beat them. So we're 3-0 in the last 3 against the Cowboys too. So if you're going to try and draw similarities, you might want to find another team. Other than the fact that we both have 5 rings and you guys, the Eagles, only have 1. But, there's that. So that's the similarity. I watch Brock against the Longhorns every year. We stay pretty good and stronger arm than people think. I mean, it looked like it against the Cowboys. He was making more throws than I've seen him make, especially outside the numbers and deeper throws. So maybe his arm strength has increased, through this rehab process. It's possible to have happen. It's definitely not a limiting factor for most throws. I will say I still don't think he's going to make the deepest throws, the tightest window throws into tight coverage. We have to really zip it in, like laser it in, or like off platform throws where he's running to the side or backwards and has to get a lot on the ball. I just don't see that happening. But maybe, and especially maybe after this next offseason where he can really work on strengthening. And in 2024 season, we really might see some arm strength increases. And there was a QB guy who I think Grant Cohn had on this offseason who was saying, like, if you look at Brock Purdy's mechanics versus, say, like Aaron Rodgers, sounds like there's just some mechanical things that Purdy might be able to do better. So we'll see. The QB, I forget the guy's name. I saved it so I can look it up. But we'll see. We'll see if that comes true. So there's he can increase the actual strength of his arm, and also but as we know, a lot of QB's strength isn't really from their arm. It comes up through their base, through the lower body, midsection. Right? Yeah. Here it is. Locked in QB is the guy's handle. And he had a couple of tweets. He had one of Brock doing warm-ups. He said, Brock Purdy is a very good QB. Brock Purdy is leaving so much on the table with average mechanics. Both of these statements are true. And then he followed it up with another one where he was comparing to Purdy's sort of more overhead type of throw, with Aaron Rodgers more of like a horizontal throw plane. And he said, look at more detail of the tweet generating some controversy. Only the top 1% will know this. Brock Purdy can be a very good QB and still not a great passer. I'll say that again. A very good football player and QB, but not a great passer. He can still win a Super Bowl, but he cannot pass the ball the way a top 10 guys in our league can. Here's why. And he says he's pinching the supraspinatus in his shoulder. He's not generating maximum ground force. He is not getting to full extension. He's relying on his arm. Aaron Rodgers is not pinching the supraspinatus in his shoulder. Aaron Rodgers is generating maximum ground force. Now, I mean, and it says one is effortless, one is not. One will age well, one will not. I will say again, Brock Purdy is a very good QB, but he can be a great QB and not maximize. But he can be a great QB and not be maximizing his ability as a passer. If you agree, congrats, you get it. So, I mean, I don't think anybody ever thought that Purdy was Aaron Rodgers, but it does seem like the guy kind of knows a little bit about what he's talking about, and he might have some good points. Like, there might be some mechanical things Brock can do in addition to actually increasing the strength in his arm and his that elbow.
I've looked at a lot of stuff like that and QB mechanics, and I follow other QB coaches on social media to see all that and the improvements they make people's mechanics. At this point, when we start diving into talking about he's a great QB, not a great passer, like he's in the NFL and completion percentage 10 yards down the field. He's completing 72% of his passes. He's got the number one passer rating in the NFL. He's got the number one QBR in the NFL. I don't care. The dude is turning the ball over. He's 12th in effectiveness in terms of tight window tight window attempts, and he's not turning the ball over. He's played flawless football. Like I don't even care about analyzing like the mechanical stuff. Like everyone throws so differently. No top QBs like throw the ball the exact same way. And that's like if I like every single basketball players as consistent and you're consistent in your mechanics, I don't really care that much. I mean, remember Phillip Rivers? He threw the ball really weird, and he still put up a bunch of numbers. He's like someone you can consider a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't want to read too much into that. Aaron Rodgers, yes, he has a great throwing motion, but Aaron Rodgers is also great because of everything else, regardless of his motion. Like you can have great mechanics, be a bad quarterback. Like you could not be able to read a defense, but have great throwing motion. Jimmy G has good throwing mechanics, but he's leading the league in interceptions. So that stuff I don't care about. Like the dude's just playing amazing. He's a top 10 QB. He's in the MVP conversation. I could care less what his rotation movement is and stuff like that. And I've heard about all that stuff from different people. It is what it is. As long as he's playing well, running the system well, which he's doing. I don't care to look at it.
There you go. Love it. We got Danielle Thompson in the house. She says, Ted, you rock. She says, Chris, you freaking rock. Thank you. We appreciate it. I like that Randy said that he's learning a lot because that's my goal, is to for me to learn and for me to help teach some of what I learn and hopefully have some fun doing it. So that's like my whole goal on Twitter X and YouTube and all these social media platforms, is just to get the word out, not spread bad info. Love it. So Danielle was saying, so Watson got scared and now he can't play. Yeah, I don't think if you're looking to come back from injury, I don't think Niners D is the most optimal.
It quote tweeted Deshaun Watson being ruled out, and someone said something crazy. They said, now he's afraid of getting touched.
Oh boy.
But it might be true.
Well, that's gonna follow him forever. So there's no doubt about that. Oh boy. I hope those are right, Danielle. What's the record? No, sorry, I'll stay away from that. Randy, you're a QB1. I said what I said. Ha ha ha. I love it. Bryant Culp in the house saying smash the like button, everyone. Thanks, Bryant. Appreciate you being here. Everybody, make sure you check out Bryant's channel. He does good things. So does his wife, Tony. She has the Women of the Niners Roundtable every Saturday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. So check them out, too. Bryant does his coffee shows in the mornings on weekends and on weekdays as well, too. So great stuff by all the Culps. Gregory is playing for his career. I like it. Don't want to give up major research. I guess that's the other thing I forgot to mention about Randy Gregory was, not only did we not give up much draft capital, but at vet minimum this year and no guaranteed money moving forward. So just a really low risk play for a player who has, could be a real good Kusuric reclamation project, maybe like an Arden Key, maybe like a Menahu, Jordan Willis, even Ebicom, all got paid after coming here to play with Kusuric. So hopefully we can prop up Randy Gregory and he can go make a bunch of money somewhere else. It would be great for him. Or if not, if you prop him up enough, then we've already got him under contract if we want to keep him too, which is kind of cool. So that's ideal. Frank Tom Ocean in the house. He says, "What's up, Ted? So ready for Sunday." Me too. Actually, I'm not totally ready because I'm just remembering I need to write my preview article. And I also am working on getting kind of a high profile Browns fan on. He said he can only do tomorrow, and that's when I'm on daddy duty. But a lot of times my wife, for like a really VIP type guest, might make an exception and let me do a weekend show. So I'm not going to say who because I don't want to jinx it until it's set up. And even then I might do it as a mystery guest until just a little bit before the show and then announce who it is. But one of my favorite Browns content creators, I'll just say that. Let's see here. We got Danielle saying Bryant he boo. There you go. All right. I'm ready to move on. LOL. All right. On to what? On to the game. We've covered most everything. Do you want to talk about? I mean, there's been some talk this week about Dre and Fred. Are they better than P. Willie and Navarro?
I can't do that yet. I can't do that yet.
No, me neither. Not yet.
I will say
because people forget that those guys played together. Well, I guess not really. I mean, Navarro, but it was Spikes and Willis, and then Willis and Navarro. It was several years that they were at the top of the other, the two best for several years.
For me, all time, I'd put Willis 1. I would put Fred above Bowman, and then I'll put Bowman third. But I can't say as a duo are greater than Willis and I can't say that yet. They're the second best duo. I could say that. I think they're that good, but I can't say above Willis and Bowman. I can't do that yet.
Yeah, me neither. Patrick Willis was something special. He's probably my favorite linebacker ever. I know. Like Ray Lewis is in that conversation, and Mike Singletary, as far as off-ball linebackers. But his career wasn't as long as we had hoped, but he shined brighter than anyone, I thought, during those 8 years or so that he played, if I recall, 8 seasons.
Should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'm with you. I don't think that our guys have earned it yet, but they, hopefully, knock on wood, they'll, play together for a few more years, and then, it might get hard to deny. Silly fun guy in the house. He's a Rams fan, but he's actually really cool. And a lot of times he serves up some good dad jokes. And sure enough, here we go. What's the best way to serve a pie? A la mode. Everything else is mean. So for all you stat heads, you'll love that joke. Wah, wah, wah. You have to do that with most dad jokes. They're often not very funny, but pretty punny. And so this one definitely qualifies as very punny. But pi, as most people know, is 3.14. It's how you determine the diameter and radius of a circle, or the circumference from those. And the mode and the mean are a lot of times it's sort of like the average, similar type concepts. But anyway, all right, let's not belabor it too much. But thanks for being here, Silly. It's great to see you. Danielle saying, the 49ers can get revenge and beat the Chiefs. Yeah, that's what I want. I want revenge on Patrick Mahomes. And I want to see all the Purdy stands say that Purdy's better than Mahomes if we beat him, even though they don't play, Mahomes plays our defense and Brock plays the Chiefs defense. And, Purdy has the best weapons in the NFL. And Kyle. And Andy Reid, Kyle, that's kind of a wash. But the weapons makes a big difference. I think the Chiefs have a little bit better O-line, though. So at least in the center, those interior offensive line with Thuney and Creed Humphrey and Smith. Blanking on his name. But the left guard, center, right guard for the Chiefs is insane.
Yeah, their O line's good.
Trey Smith is their right guard. That's it.
Eagles O line is.
Especially when they let Lane Johnson false start all the time. Oh, he's got the mind of a center.
People
How much did you hate
about
that?
that with the Chiefs and Jawan Taylor. I was like, you guys weren't noticing this in the NFC Championship game?
Crazy. We got Mark Graves in the house. He says medium people wouldn't be saying S if Purdy was a first round 1 draft pick. Give the guy his props. I mean, I don't know. I'm people, and I don't consider his draft position anymore. It was a good story last year, but now he's just a veteran QB, and I rate him based off of how many other people, not off his raw stats or wins. I rate him off of how many quarterbacks do I think could step in here, and if they had played the same 12 games as Purdy, would be playing as well or better than him now. And I think there's at least 6 to 9 in this league. I'd say at least 6, and some you can make an argument for. Like Goff is a good, interesting tweener case, but all right. So you got Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Herbert, you got Burrow. I put Burrow before Herbert. I think Trevor Lawrence is in the conversation. Hurts is in the conversation. Lamar is in the conversation. So those are the ones where I'd have trouble putting Purdy above any of them. But then there's guys like Goff, there's guys like Cousins, guys like Dak. And we said earlier in the show, I would take Brock over Dak. I said it before the Cowboys game, and even more so since. But that are in that sort of next tier. I don't know. You can make an argument for some of them. An interesting one, CJ Stroud, right?
Yeah, that's one that's interesting too, because he's really well right now.
Yeah, he is. So that's another one. Russ Wilson's another one, although it didn't look like it last night. I still think he's in that conversation too, of that tier. So yeah, there's Turpin. Thank you, man. Am I that far behind on the? So yeah, Turpin was the one who beat Isaiah Oliver for the touchdown against the Cowboys. He's a special teamer, and he then twisted his ankle. Maybe what I'll do is I'll scroll down to the bottom and work my way up. Got Bebop Jones in the house. Great to see you, Bebop. I know you were in earlier, but awesome having you back in the chats again. I know you were out for a little while. I think I had upset some people with my Brock Purdy takes, so I'm glad to see that people are accepting my apology. That's good. Randy says math jokes. Yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of math shows on YouTube with my son. It's great stuff. Also, a lot of Planet shows. He was watching these Paw Patrol and stuff, and I was just like, there's just nothing of value to this. Let's get something where he can enjoy it and also learn. And so that's what I've been trying to do. TED Talks Ball also got a photo with Willis, August 22, best day ever, outstanding. He's such a stud. I mean, what a great player. And did he make the Hall of Fame? I guess he hasn't. So we need to get him and Roger Craig in. Those are kind of my two biggest guys right now, ex-Niners that need to get in. And I guess Frank Gore too, right? I mean, I think all three of those guys need to get in.
I was arguing, is he a Hall of Famer or not? Because I guess people were like, well, he was never top 3 at his position. He just played a long time. I would still put him Hall of Fame. I mean, you're that high, and it's not like he was bad. It's not like he was mid. He was really good and really steady and really reliable. He's got to be in the Hall of
Fame. No doubt about it. Danielle Thompson was saying that Watson. Yeah, I mean it's hard to say, but I just think when you end up second all time in rushing yards and third all time in or second all time rushing and third all time scrimmage or something like that, I just think you got to put that guy in, even if it took him a long time to do it. There's something to be said for having a long career at one of the shortest longevity positions in the NFL. So Danielle's saying that Deshaun Watson was medically cleared, but still isn't playing. That's interesting. What happened? Yeah, I think he's scared. He doesn't want to come back he doesn't want to look bad against the Niners D. And can you blame him? Our D looked pretty fearsome against the Cowboys, that's for sure. These QB coaches can work on the 2021 class. They'll be working driving trucks after next year. I mean, definitely Mac Jones and Zach Wilson are not living up to it. With Justin Fields, I always say you have to have decent protection and reliable weapons, and he didn't really have much of either. Bad offensive line, and I think Darnell Mooney was his only weapon for a long time. Starting to see what he can do now that he has DJ Moore from the Panthers as a weapon. And I think a little bit better protection. He's definitely accurate, and I think he's starting to get through his progressions more, which was one of the knocks on him. So still not ready to write Justin Fields off, and certainly not Trey Lance after only less than 5 starts, 3.5, 4 starts. You just can't. But definitely Mac and Zach, especially Mac, is just looking like,
Mac doesn't
and
look good.
he's a terrible guy too. Danielle says, as long as we win a Super Bowl, I don't care what quarterback does it. There you go. I'm with you. Bottom line, Mark. Oh, so Mark was saying, I don't care if he throws underhand, the guy wins. There you go. And I wouldn't be mad if they rested players mid third quarter as we have the lead and defenses. Yeah, I mean that might be one way to help keep us healthy is to keep blowing teams out and resting. I get the feeling this game's gonna be a little tougher than people think. But yeah, everybody's saying the kind of the same thing. This energy has to continue. Ain't no room for anything else after 5 years. The best stage, health and play-wise. Yeah. No, the team definitely seemed to be peaking. Let's just hope we weren't peaking too early. Do you think that? I mean, do you think we're overusing CMC, Chris?
No, I think they're fine. It's just when you have that good of an offense and that good of a defense, I don't think I think we're just going to see this consistently from them because we could look at last year losing. I mean, they didn't lose with CMC uh, until Purdy got hurt in the NFC Championship game. That was the only game they lost. They went from Halloween to January without losing a single game. And when Purdy came in, they were scoring an average of like 33 points a game. They're still averaging over 30 points a game right now. Uh, so it carried into a whole other season. I don't think it. I don't think it's. I think this team's just. I think that, and I think Jesse was having this conversation on his show with other people in spaces too. We were talking about it a little bit yesterday. This team could end up ranking up there with, or it probably is the best team since '90. Could go down as one of the greatest Niner teams of all time if they win the Super Bowl. Um, they're just elite on both sides of the ball, and they have an all pro at positions. They I think 2 all pro caliber receivers. Debo already got his. I think Brandon Ayuk is playing like it right now. George Kittle's an all pro tight end. You have an all pro left tackle, an all pro running back who's also a really good pass catcher. You got all pro Fred. Dre Greenlaw's playing like an all pro. You got Hufunga, also was defensive player of the year. You have Hargrave, who's an all pro. Like, this team is, I don't think, as long as they're healthy, I don't think it matters. That's the biggest opponent is just stay healthy. That's it. Even that Falcons team, Super Bowl, they went 11-5. It's not like they won like 15 games or anything like that. It's just they're healthy when those playoffs come around. I really do want the road to the Super Bowl to have to go through Levi's Stadium. I want that 1 seed. I'd rather have the Eagles, if we face them, have to come to Levi's in our home, have to go to Philly.
Yeah, no, there's something to be said for that. A lot of years I would have said, I'd rather be healthy, hot, and rested than have the number 1 seed. Like we've gone into the playoffs and made noise, even with having slow starts and strong finishes. But it's hard not to draw parallels between the only 2 quarterbacks who have ever had this UCL plus repair plus internal brace surgery. Obviously, Brock Purdy last year at the link, Hassan Reddick coming off the right edge, beat Croft and hit Purdy as he was throwing. And it was very similar to Nick Mullins in Dallas in the COVID year with DeMarcus Lawrence coming off the edge after he beat McGlinchey and hit his right arm. Both tore their UCL, both got the same surgery. And it's hard not to think that, I know that offensive linemen, when they lose their assignment, they yell like fire or something like that. So the QB knows to like look and pay attention that someone's coming free. And it's hard not to think that these hostile away crowds, it was harder for Mullins and Purdy to hear that, if indeed they did yell it, that led to these, catastrophic, or not catastrophic, but, serious injuries of the throwing arm. So yeah, that gives us another reason to root for home field advantage, I think, and to really try to win every game that we can, and just not give the Eagles any chances to where we have to go there to play again after going there December 3rd, week 13. I'm with you. Now, as far as AFC goes, Chris, how do you rank the AFC teams? Where are you on, like, you tell me. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I would have to put the Dolphins 1 right now. They're
Nice.
more than the Niners are. Even though they lost to the Bills, but I think the Dolphins some players in that game too. And I'd put Bills and Chiefs. I think those are the top 3. Chiefs,
Yeah.
or it's just like rank them, but who I'd rather, I would actually rather play the Dolphins out of both those teams. I'm not scared of their defense, and I'm not scared of Tua. Mahomes and Josh Allen are different animals. I those guys, but I would just say on the way the teams are playing, we saw the Bills look really out of sync at times, like against Jacksonville or against the Jets, and the Chiefs just don't have a lot of offensive weapons aside from Kelsey. It's just Mahomes and Kelsey, and they still just find ways to win games because they're that good of a team. Their defense is playing well too. I would go in that order. I've seen Bills been able to do the way that they did put 48 on the Dolphins. I'm putting them over them for now. My guess is that'll probably change, and I think the Chiefs will make a mid-season trade and they'll be the hottest team in the AFC.
There you go. Yeah, I have Chiefs number 1, but mostly because of their defense. I would say Bills 2, but all these injuries have me spooked on them. So I'll go Dolphins 2. I would go Bills 3. And I would say Ravens 4, but I think that the Bengals will overtake the Ravens. Or even the Browns could, if they can get Deshaun back and get this offense going to go with this defense. I think the Cleveland Browns could end up winning the North if they're, if they can get it together. But I don't know. It's a lot to bank on Deshaun Watson.
If Deshaun played like he used to on Texans, they would be title contenders right now because that defense is really good. Is there a receiver? Mike Evans' name has been thrown quite a bit. That depends, I guess,
but the Bucs don't seem like a seller right now, do they?
They don't seem like it because they're winning, but are they really a contender?
No. And do they really trust Baker? Do they really want to stick with him as their long-term solution? I doubt it.
I mean,
we mentioned
like this number 1 huge name receiver. Remember the Niners when we got Emmanuel Sanders? That changed our offense too, and he was a good leader in the receiver. He wasn't like he wasn't like Jefferson or anything like that, and it still helped. Like it could even be something like that I think will help. I mean, last year they got Tony. That helped.
Right. Yeah. That's true. What about if the Raiders are selling Peters, do you think they would sell Devontae Adams?
If Kansas City gave Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Adams, and Travis Kelce on the same team, I would be very, very annoyed. That's to put it lightly. Be annoyed.
Yeah.
They'll do that. Unless like Devon says, like, hey, I want out. I don't want to be here. I don't think that'll happen. But also, actually, wouldn't happen because they're in the same division. There's no way the Raiders would.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. What are some other tankable teams though? Let's see. Take a quick look at the standings.
The receivers I'm thinking of are guys that are competition for the Chiefs, so I don't think they would give them up. Like, isn't it T. Higgins hasn't had a contract extension yet on the Bengals, but Like I don't.
Oh yeah, T. Higgins is another one. That is a good one. And you know what I just realized? I have an 11 o'clock meeting, and I have to be there by 11:15. So if you don't mind wrapping up, do you mind if I just say peace and go Niners? And thank you for joining. Check out Chris Polo at Chris Polo __ on Twitter, the Polo Show on YouTube. And my apologies for the rapid end here, but I just got my reminder from 11 o'clock that I need to get to it.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Ted. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Oh, 1 o'clock, Anshul Shah Show. Thanks.